I don't have all of it figured out yet for myself. Like a lot of the stuff we talk about, I'm still iterating, I'm still getting new revelations and stuff, but like I'm really solid. And on this, I am not solid about talking about it.
Mm.
So, so what I thought is that, I'll do a bunch of sharing, but I want to hear from you guys, um, before we start and along the way, like so starting, uh, you can let this come to you while we do our little beginning meditation, is, what questions did you even come with? What insights? And I don't mean like 5 or 10 minute insights. I mean like 5 sentence insights. Have did you come? Um, so we can start with that after the meditation. All right. So just a couple minutes of meditation, being here, releasing, letting go, letting the chair support you, and let the body go up. And let's breathe in from the universe, chest and belly, release, breathe, breath of life. And releasing what you're done with down into the earth for recycling, bringing your attention to the center of your head and resting there. Grounding down from your torso to the center of the earth, grounding down from your feet into the earth, maybe like roots, grounding or connecting up to, say, a sun above your head, representing your source, the light of the sun, the light between you and the sun, the light in you, same light. And breathe and just enjoy that connectedness with heaven, with divine, and or cosmic, and your connectedness with earth, body, and this reality. All right, and please keep utilizing your tools, whatever you need throughout the session. As I've said before, it's an opportunity. This conversation is an opportunity to both think and play with ideas that we're going to be playing with this month, and an opportunity to interact while using your tools, which some people don't do a lot. So before I start talking, what did you come with? Questions, comments, insights of your own did you come with? And just, you can start talking now.
I've got what I think is a brief question.
Yeah.
Um, as I was reviewing the stuff for tonight, one of the things you mentioned is I thou relationships or whatever. And I keep wanting to ask you about that because my familiarity with I thou is out of Martin Buber. And my experience of what you're saying is like three doors down to how you're experiencing it or expressing it and stuff. So I wonder if you
Yes.
could spend 2 minutes talking about Buber's I thou versus your I thou. Do you see them as pretty much the same deal?
Um, I didn't read his eye though. But I'm just saying that, and this is a great start. This is a great start because the whole foundation of everything I'm going to talk about today is that, yes, from my perspective, spiritually, we're all one, 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 right? One. At the same time, in this reality, this physical reality, and just saying that says it, right? It doesn't mean that we're not in spirit, or spirit isn't in us, or like anything like that, but there is this concrete reality that we're in, this earth game, sandbox, earth, or earth, school, whatever you want to call it. That is a dichotomous experience. There's birth and there's death, and there's starting and finishing, and there's morning and night, and there's me and there's you. and there's me, and there's the experience of my source. And there's me, and there's my experience of the earth, my experience of the earth reality, right? Everything's a relationship in my world. So we have all our relations, which include
Mm.
ourselves, our bodies, spirit, earth, each other, all the children of the earth, on, right? And all of those can we see that as an I thou experience? And right here, I've got the two rose healing method right here. Right? It's like, it's how I see it. Because, and there's people who are just like, no, we're beyond that now. Now we're non-dual people. It's like even the word is dual. But whatever, right? It's pretty funny, right? It's like we're beyond all that. And it's just like, no, I'm sorry, because when you get to the road, you look left and right before you cross the street. Right. It's like we build on, from my perspective, we build on our soul. And you heard me talk about this before, right? But it's like, okay, so we come to the point, and I've actually experienced this now in a whole new way in the last couple of months. We come to the point where we master, in this case, it was like the male and the female energies. We master them so much that we come to one point. It's true, but it doesn't mean that I still don't call on male energy when I want to act. And I don't call on female energy when I want to be receptive. So we keep the learning, just like we do, we learn 1, 2, 3 ABC in kindergarten, and we use it till today, right? But we're not learning that anymore. And we're not learning to stand in lines. We're not learning, and those of us who've got it, got it. Some of us don't. And then we still need to learn it. Still need to learn to have the patience to stand in line sometimes. Um, So yeah, I use it as it's the game we're playing here in a lot of ways. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this. I did a bunch of babbling, Jeff.
No, that was extraordinary helpful. To use a Wendyism, now I'm going to disambiguate the Buberian I thou from the Wolfian I thou, and be able to see them as two different
Awesome.
statements
And
about
do you
things.
want to tell us in a nutshell about the other I thou? Because it's something I should know. Something about God, right?
Yeah, his thing, it's a little bit about God. His thing is God's within all of us, and though we can, it's almost like namaste in a way. It was like him landing on namaste, because he says you can approach everything as an it and engage in an I it relationship, where essentially you're just using everybody for stuff. Or
Uh-huh.
you can approach everybody as with an I thou kind of relationship, where you're engaging the divine with the other person.
Gorgeous. That's the essence of the book that we didn't read this summer. They're bringing that idea to the masses in a different way, and how transformational it is when we come to that place of the namaste, the honoring the humanity of another, and it totally changes our interactions. But if we stay with that, what's that word, treating people like objects, then no matter like what game we play with it, like, oh, but I use this language, or I use this trick, or I use it doesn't change anything, because we're still objecting them.
Yes, right.
So it's this
Yes.
wonderful distinction. Yeah, and that's part of what I'm talking about too, right? Like spirit is in and among all that conversation. But I love putting a fine tune on in that. And yeah, okay, that makes sense. You're saying I thou in the divine mo-
Yeah,
the
he
divine
has it like
being.
he hyphenates. It's an I dash thou or an I dash it relationship that you can have, and you always want to shoot for the
Fine.
I dash thou is his.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Good. Awesome. And as always, everything I'm saying is my perspective, my experience, and the whole idea is, as you guys know, is to take what works for you and leave the rest. Eat the fruit and spit the pits. And most of what we're going to talk about tonight is not, one doesn't have to believe one way or another around the practice. Practice is to get us to the place where we can have our own experience and our own perspective. It's just that I'm sharing some pointers that I found. So, all right. Anything else, Jeff, while you're here? All right. Anybody else come with anything you want to talk about? And it could be questions about the practice. That's what this is about. Like, oh, this is fine and good, but except for how does that work or why does that work? You can ask, because a lot of times we're not going intellectual. Today we do. Um, we're just
Well,
practicing.
mine wasn't nearly as intellectual or deep as that, because all I saw was that I thought we were talking about hope.
We are.
And okay. And so my thing is, I am such a positive person. So that translates to being hopeful. But right now, in light of everything happening in the world, it is difficult to be hopeful. It is a scary, scary time. And I don't want to be hopeful in a Pollyanna type way.
Right.
And that I am struggling with. I am really struggling with that. And I'm very much opposed to spewing negativity and adding negative words and adding more hopelessness to the world. So I'm very deliberate in the words I choose. And I don't want to ever be one that puts those words out in the world. Like, even if I'm talking to a friend, I don't even want that out there. So I will go the opposite way. But right now, it is tough.
Mhm.
It's rough for me because it's just, like I said, it's a scary time. So
Yeah.
that was my 2 cents.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you, and I totally validate that. And there's a lot of emotions going on and a lot of heaviness, and real concern
Mhm.
in the US. I do want to say that I said it last time we got together, but now it's real. I put it in the newsletter. Like, I'm initiating a progressive practice group, and so that we can talk about these things, because in the general shared stuff we acknowledge it, but it's like we don't want to step on anybody's toes.
Right.
um but like I feel like there needs to be a space for healing and support
Yeah.
and equipping people to live in peace and empowerment, um, with some challenges. So anyway, that's happening. So
Okay.
look
Good
at the
to know.
newsletter.
Yep,
Actually,
I will.
oh, my ask in these newsletters, please, if you're interested, get to me with dates that work, the days of the
Okay.
week that work for you. So anyway, that what you're talking about though is so central to what I want to talk about. So I'll start there is and then I'll see if Nora wants to say anything. But um for me, I'm an anti-fan. Actually, Amber and I did a thing on this. But it ended up needing two parts, and she's not available again until after school's over because but
Mhm.
we spoke about this at length. But I am really an anti-fan of a whole lot of the positive thinking is practiced. Um uh I'm an anti-fan. Like I'm great that you're positive. Like it's mostly just real for you, Chris, and that's great, and you're wonderful to be with. Um, I just in practice, it sometimes occurs as people wanting to control, um,
Mhm.
and not just their own words, but other people's words, not just their own shares, but other people's shares. And also to try to find solid ground, like because they say so. Just making shit up, basically. Okay.
Yeah.
Just a lot of making shit up. It's like, and like instead of what I believe is useful, and this is the thing, because people are like, Wendy, you're so positive. Wendy, you're so, I'm just like, I mean to be
Mhm.
realistic. I mean to be realistic. And the difference though is where am I standing? Am I standing trying to find a safe place in the world to stand? Like in this crazy ass world that's like always crazy and lately
Mhm.
really, really crazy, right? Like, am I trying to stand on shifting sand
Mhm.
or am I standing on rock? And I'm gonna, Jesus had really good distinctions for this as far as I'm concerned. Because from my perspective, he talks about the rock in more than one way, but one of the times is the famous time where he called Peter the rock. And I'm sure you've heard this from me before, you guys, because I'm so excited about it. But like that, this is the scripture that Spirit turned me on. Once I finally accepted being in like psychic soul mystics training, I the scripture about um flesh and blood has not told you this, but my Father in heaven has told you this. And on this rock I will build my assembly, my church. Like this is so powerful for me because it's like I want to stand, and this is the essence of hope for me. I want to stand and faith. So we'll disambiguate that. I want to stand on direct spiritual experience
Mhm.
in my own soul. And I'm going to expand that and say, I want to stand on direct experience of physical reality, what's actually effing going on around here, not made up crap, and what's going on spiritually, right? Like, what an incredible place. If I stand in both of those places, how powerful is that? That's really rock. What's actually happened and is happening physically and spiritually. That is awesome from my perspective. And from that place, I can be with what is on the physical, which is usually a lot of challenge and then sometimes yummy things. And but also spiritually, and that's where the hope comes in as far as I'm concerned, and faith. So faith from my perspective is spiritual, direct spiritual experience
Mhm.
that I'm certain in my own soul about, that I've checked with discernment, spiritual discernment, then becomes faith. And can I live on and live out what I've seen, what I've heard, what I've experienced spiritually? That's faith from my perspective. It's more particular. I have a vision and then I'm like, oh, right, that's real for me. I have I see spiritually, that's real for me. Am I willing to do it? Am I willing to go and do, right? Can I hold on through the dark night? Like Abraham, like, the baby is not coming, God damn it. Like, faith. And then the other part of that from my perspective is hope. And that is the more general, like we experience, a lot of us here, we experience the divine love. Can we let that be where we stand? The divine truth, the divine beauty, the divine glory, the divine um joy, the divine bliss, the divine, right? Like the generalistic, um the the movement of the divine evolution from like that's my experience of like the river, the current bringing us all to bloom, bringing us all to Teleios, to full, to become mature. Slowly and slowly, but surely, we're all maturing. It might not always look like it, but I believe we are. So, like, all like these general things I feel like are hope. And am I willing to let that be my reality? Because when I am, I look damn positive, right? It's just like, all right, well, I'm washed with God, I'm awash with the delight of spirit. And that is something I can stand on because it never changes in this world that is like, it's going my way, then it's not. It's going my way, it's
Mhm,
not.
mhm.
Like, if I stand there, well, I'm still in love, or I'm still like people love to talk about love, but for me, like the truth, beauty, the sublime, amazing experience of presence or whatever, blah, 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 right? So that is, people are just like, you're so positive. I'm just like, well, I believe that we're all being drawn to wholeness. I believe because I've seen it. You know?
Mhm.
I I experience love all the time, even when my life is crap, even when I wake up and I'm so sick or whatever. And like, so that seems like positive thinking, but it's actually standing on spirit instead of flesh. So anyway, I could go on, but what do you guys notice about this? What do you say for yourselves about this?
Um, my brain was just connecting it to what you were saying a little while ago about the dualism piece, Wendy, that I think that people have sold us a bill of goods that says if you're experiencing doubt, you're not having faith. And my experience is the more I have the cojones to let myself swim in the pool of doubt, the deeper I'm going to go in the pool of like hope and all those other things. So I think that like my best understanding right now is like the bullshit false positive spiritual bypassing community is all about hope for everything 100% of the time. That's the only appropriate feeling to have at any measure of the time. Um, but like a hope that's rooted in this reality is like, holy crap, we have a fascist butthead on his way into the White House. So how are we going to speak up? We're going to meet on Zoom and hold each other's hands through these next 4 years and stuff. Like
Yes.
that's that. Yeah, that's what I got.
Yeah, beautiful. Chris, how does that land? I don't ever want to invalidate you. I know you're very
No, no,
positive,
it
but
lands really well because I 100% relate with that. Um, because again, I also have had faith experiences and experiences that have tested my faith, believe me, and have made me go, are you kidding me? Like, is this like seriously? But yet, I mean, again, I would rather see love and truth and joy and beauty, even in ugliness,
yes, yes.
even in my questioning the next 4 years. I can still turn off and go sit in my yard and play with my dogs. And I can see the beauty
Hmm.
that's just there, that's just being. So, I don't know. Again, I don't want to be Pollyannish because believe me, I've had doubt. I've had faith doubts. There's shitty things that happen in my life. But the way I get through that is to concentrate on what brings me joy.
Hmm.
And I feel like I'm the small pebble in the lake that I can
Yeah,
drop in the lake, and the ripples maybe can go out, and maybe I can help someone else have a better day. Or,
totally.
but
Hmm.
me being crabby and negative and nasty and ugly, there's enough of that without my adding to it.
Right. It's not going to help
And I'm
anyone.
not saying I'm perfect because trust me, there's a few times when that ugly comes out and it is not pretty. And I can just
Yeah.
unload. And then
Yeah.
I stop and go, wait a minute. You know, I have to think about what that person, sorry, I will not apologize usually, but you can't,
Yeah.
maybe that person's having the kind of day I had 6 months ago or a year ago. Maybe that person got a cancer diagnosis and
Right.
they were just really feeling shitty,
Yes. Right.
so, but
Yeah.
yes, all of this. And I think because I do have a faith and is based on the experiences that I've had in my past, that's what I go back to.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah.
Were you done?
No, yeah, I just hope I'm explaining myself
Yeah. Yeah.
without too many words.
I totally relate. Yeah.
Okay,
We're human. We're all human here. And
for sure.
I also want to disambiguate. I feel like it really helps because let's disambiguate human hope from spiritual hope,
Mm-hmm.
right? Right.
Yeah,
Like the
definitely.
human hope of we all go seashore and our relationships work out well and the people that we care about and the friends things we care about, you know, go well and the right and I hope I get laid and I hope right, like whatever it is, right? Physical stuff. And then, and then, which is different than the really high spiritual perspective hope in which like honestly, from my perspective, we're going through a challenging time. That's when growth usually happens. What I've been saying is like, for me, I had to take the hard road over and over and over because I couldn't take the easy road with my
Mhm.
own soul development. So I took the hard road, and we're taking the hard road right now in our country. And it will produce some amazing fruit. It's just, I believe, but
You hope.
sucks. No, yeah, I hope. I'll go with I hope. Yeah, but I spiritually see it, I see it.
Yeah, I
Um,
know.
and it's not just like hope from the air. So anyway, that's my perspective. But disambiguating like doubt from faith is like, well, for me, I stopped being so miserable when I disambiguated my intellect, my analyzer from my who I am, a spirit, my emotions, my different voices and needs in my own system. Like the analyzer, the intellect, doubt is its middle name, you know? Its job. It's just like, right? It's
Mhm.
like its job. Its job is to doubt. And hooray, right? It's fun and it's interesting, but like let's just like give it a little pat on the head. It's doing its job, but it has nothing to do with like me being in the driver's seat and choosing to live in joy or choosing to align with spirit. Like it's like two different, totally different things. And when I got that, boy, a lot of misery went away from me. So I just want to encourage about that, or like or me as spirit and my body. When I finally started to get that we're not the same thing, even though we're not the same thing, then I started being so much nicer to my body, so much nicer to my body. But when I was identified with my body, I did nothing but beat myself up for not being ideal. So, anyway, I'm all about the disambiguation, but this hope thing, I feel like it's really helpful to understand. Okay, so I have emotions. Well, that's physical stuff. It's not about spiritual hope. And I have thoughts, not about spiritual hope. And it helps to figure out where is the spiritual hope. And for me, it's resting right on the divine experience. Um, so good. This is working out better than I was afraid that I was not going to be able to be clear on this, but it's working out. So I hope. Nora, did you have something?
Oh, I've been going through listening to all of y'all, it just has taken me. The first thing that I thought of was somebody that I didn't really know. I don't know how we got on the topic, but we were in a group and she said, you know, the one thing that I've always noticed about Nora, no matter what kind of crap she goes through, she always has faith that it will work out. And I'm like, I am the biggest doubter in the whole frigging world. I get hyper, I get worried, I get agitated,
Yes.
but other people see me as she always believes that it will work out. And in me, there is like a little in my gut, this little morsel that, yeah, it's going to be okay. But then I say, you know, so and so's being a butt again, or somebody's being a real jerk, and things like that. And I don't think I can go through this. I don't think I can make it. But there's always that kernel, KERNAL.
Yes. Yes. There's the kernel. There's the kernel
There's
of
just,
faith in among all the bullshit.
and I was totally agreeing with the without doubt, you don't have faith. You don't have belief. If you totally know that something is real for 900%, what is the use of you don't grow? If I'm, it's just all jumbled up in here. I know what I'm trying to say. Without the doubt, you don't have the certainty. And it's the total, it's like y'all have been talking about having the opposite happening at the same time. And I know what I'm trying to say. I know I'm not
I
projecting it well, but
yeah.
I've never seen myself as a hopeful person. But recently I've had several people say, you always believe that it's going to work out. And I have never seen that in me. I personally have never seen that as me. That because I'm like, oh my God, what if this and this and this and this and this and this? But nobody sees that for some reason.
Yeah.
I mean, they've seen me go psychic.
Well, yeah, because you do it in your own head while you should be sleeping. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true. There is that point. Valid, valid. That is a valid statement.
Awesome.
But
Yeah. And
I'm
what I wanted
never
to
going
say
to.
about, okay,
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
what I want to say about the whole doubt and faith is also like for us, my experiences as we go along in our soul journey, we experience differently. We see other things. We see bigger. You know,
Yeah,
Saturday I was talking about you know, how the ego goes around and it sees the same thing, but it gets higher and wider and higher and wider and
right.
sees bigger. And
Yeah,
like, so as we do that in our soul experience, we see differently, we see more, we see, and it's just like that disrupts our mental models.
yes,
That
yes.
disrupts what a lot of people call faith or their beliefs.
Hmm.
It, it always, for me, I don't know about anybody else, it always is disrupting my apple cart of how I think it is, or how I think God is, or where I'm called, or who I think I am. It's constantly being disrupted by new spiritual experience and new consciousness in my soul. And so that's doubt, right? It's just like that's like my intellect saying, wait, right? And
Right.
my stories are saying, bah. And so so I don't believe we can mature spiritually, soul mature without disrupting our belief systems. It
Yeah,
just can't be done,
exactly.
as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly.
And, and I'm so glad we live in a time where we're like, we're not going to get killed or
Yeah.
or whatever.
Or tortured or
Um,
whatever. Yeah,
Usually
exactly.
not. Almost
Yeah.
never. So that we can. And I think that's part of this whole flowering that we're seeing is that there's so much more permission to not be stopped by what people think about religion or Bible or God or whatever, and to have experience and let it have some space.
Well, I never really started growing until I started doubting.
Mm,
I was always raised that doubting is wrong. Doubting is a lack of faith. Doubting is a lack of certainty. Doubting is don't doubt because that shows that you're weak. But I never really started growing until 3 or so years ago when I really seriously started doubting.
that's awesome. Thanks, Nora, for saying that.
So, and hope is a bright, shiny word that just sparkles gold. And sometimes it gets buried, but this sounds kind of weird, but I feel like a calm hope is almost even more powerful than the bright, shiny, spurting gold
Mhm.
kind of hope.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
And to understand getting to the the I, me, all of this. I'm still trying to understand all of that. I'm reading something now about the difference between being and doing,
Mhm.
which has been very interesting. It's really deep stuff
Yeah,
that I'm having to read over and over.
that's awesome.
But
Right. And it's still intellectualization. It's not the being and the doing, it's the thinking about the being and the doing, but it's
yeah,
fun.
yeah. So, but I just see just it's not ambiguousness, it's not ambiguity, but it's the dichotomy. Hope does not always mean a lack of doubt. Doubt does not always mean a lack of hope.
Right. Right.
So,
That's all I'm saying. We can just hold it both.
yeah.
Go on.
So,
Yeah.
I
Awesome.
think right now, I myself am just trying to walk that. It's not a tightrope because I can't do that,
Right.
but it's just the walking on the middle ground between those two and seeing where they converge and where they diverge from each other.
Right. And yeah. And could I speak to that, Nora?
Sure.
Because I'm a big fan of Carl Jung, who said, can we hold the opposites?
Yeah.
It's not, I don't think it's like, I think it's like, I fully hold the whole thing? Can I hold it all? Can I hold it all? Not like, can I walk between, but can I like can I, can I put my arms around all of it?
Right.
Just an encouragement. Um, so, uh, there's a couple things I would like to say though. Is this a good time, you guys?
Sure.
Okay. Um, so I started the newsletter this time around let's start with the opposite. I shared a video about somebody talking about depression, and she's specifically talking about male depression. Um, but I found it very valid for depression. My experience of depression, which was most of my adult life until I did this work. And she talks about hopeless and helpless. And And then in the face of that, can we develop choosing a focus and agency? And I got so excited because I'm just like, dude, this is what we do every day, right? Like we clear the hopeless, we clear the helpless, we develop focus, choice about focus, and we're building our muscle of agency, of sovereignty. So it gave me some new insight into there's so many layers of why my experience changed so much when I started using the tools. But this is part of it. It's like if I can, I was just looking at the pain all the time.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
and that instead of, what we might call hope, instead of what we might call agency. So I just wanted to say that's a great context because a lot of us, yeah, the country, yeah, but a lot of us, period, are
Mhm.
just don't live in a lot of hope. And there's good reason, we strut and fret our time on the stage and, and then our time's over. And life is nasty, brutish, right? And then it's too short. Right? It's just like there's no winning, right? And um,
Yeah.
but if I'm doing that alive in the reality of the divine along with the physical, it's completely different. It's completely different to be in that Ecclesiastes angst, and at the same time have the at the same time be on the mountaintop as the same times that we're in the swamp. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
said this already, but I'm just contextualizing because that the practice of being able to do that is extraordinary, and that's what we do, and it makes all the difference. Um, so let me just see here. I've said a lot of this that I've written. I've said a lot of it. So I just let me yeah, it's all written down in newsletter. So I don't have to say all this. But I did want to say that I point over to the sacred truth thing that's starting in March. Remember I shoehorned this part that we're doing in between and about sacred living in sacred truth. And we say all the time we're talking about validation, we're talking about certain soul certainty, soul validation, soul faith, soul forgiveness and gratefulness, which is just being with what is, things we like and things we don't like. Soul acceptance, which is like this magical thing that we can be with what is. But I'm bringing this all up to talk about soul trust, which is another thing, like in this conversations that we're having about doubt and faith and hope, is trust. Because I believe that our definitions of faith are also tied together, like with trust. So there's our direct experience and carrying that forward, but there's also, can I trust the divine experience that I'm having? Certain soul certainty. Can I trust that the the visions or insights that I've received are gonna keep coming? And the human experiences, and C.S. Lewis talked about this in his grief book. They sometimes feel like they don't keep coming. Like the more I need them, the less they're there. It's kind of like Michael. I've joked with you guys, like, right? Like the more I need his validation, the less I get it, which is annoying. Except for it forces me to like figure out validation, which is actually, so it's better for me. That's one of those things. It's like it sucks, right? But it actually forces, like, I have to be responsible for my own validation. Damn it. But then I'm free. And then he's like, thinks I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread because I am just self-validating. I'm a self-validating machine. So anyway, I just wanted to bring up this trust because it's a whole nother layer, and I read it as soul truth, a sacred truth that we can experience. And so we can ask for it, we can like all the things, we can receive it as blessing, and we can practice it and exercise it. But that in our language, and I think in the, we all come from a Christian background here, in the Greek, from the Greek and stuff, trust is an important part of the conversation. Belief, trust. So anyway, I just wanted to put that in there because we're dealing with these big, heavy religious words in some ways. And the last thing I want to say, and then I want to hear from you guys, is both the faith and the hope I see as very similar, as we've talked about, but they're kind of secondary. Yes, they're still their own vibration. And yes, but they're built on something else. So they're built on our direct experience of all these other things. And then they're like, I don't know how to say it. They're secondary experiences that are built on like their soul certainty, and on that is built faith. Their soul experience of the divine qualities, basically, of divine love or truth or beauty or whatever. And then there's hope. And also the divine pull, the divine current of Teleios, of coming, like that we see everywhere. The oak becoming out of the acorn. That's just something we see, and we're part of it. And maybe you do or don't see it, but I see it. That's all I see. And that, for me, that is the best description of hope. But I realize that other people identify with other parts more. So anyway, what do you got? We have a few minutes left. What are you noticing? New or different or?
One of my reflections on your words and Chris's words is um, when hope is not rooted, like when the hope doesn't come to pass, when what you're hoping for fails, that comes at like an emotional cost. That's hard. So one thing is, I was going to say hopefully, ideally a person would hope in things that are worth hoping for, that are like consistently going to turn out to be correct. Otherwise, you're just going to spend your life like banging your head against the wall.
Yes.
Um, and also, like, it takes like a warrior spirit to be hopeful. It's easy to be like a cynical person
Yes.
and never believe the
Yeah, it
good is going
is.
to happen because there's no cost to being found out that you had it wrong,
Yeah.
on that. So that's my final
Yes. And I
thoughts on
really want to put a fine tune on that, Jeff.
Yeah.
I forget who it is, but some guy who lived through being a prisoner of war, he came back and said, this hope that this hope shit doesn't work. The positive thinking, basically. He said he watched guy after guy be just like,
I remember
okay, well,
this.
I'll make it and then we'll be out by Christmas. We'll
Yep.
be out by Easter. We'll be out by, and like they would then they'd be devastated because they just made it up. And then they're like,
yeah.
okay, it helped them live to Christmas. But then after that, like, right, where this other guy who
Yeah.
actually lived through it, all these people died, and he like made it. I forget who it is. He made
Maybe
it, and
Kushner?
he
Was it
just
Rabbi
let
Kushner?
go.
Yeah.
It could it be?
That
I think so. I it might
was
have
one of
been.
the Vietnam.
Yeah, I
s-
really don't think it was the Holocaust. I think it
No,
was,
Oh, okay.
it was a guy who was a POW in
yeah, he was,
Vietnam.
yeah, and they were
I re
tortured all the
and it
time. It was just
yeah,
horrible. It was horrible. And
I
he like
remember
let
hearing that.
go.
Yeah.
And like he didn't place his hope on things that failed because that's just like you know,
Yeah.
yeah. All of us know what that feels like. It sucks. So anyway, anything else, you guys, as we wrap? Okay, so we're going to be playing with all this stuff. There's a lot of good stuff in the newsletter this time. I want just encourage you to look at because it will inform you as we go through the month. And I was up till now we were doing like the same thing the whole month or the same thing for the whole week. But I have a whole different each time has a different focus this time for some reason. There's just a lot of little fun things to pick out here to muscle build
Mhm.
on around hope. And I just so whenever I can see it, it'd be great. Okay. All this and we're finishing on time. You want to meditate now? 1 minute?
Sound
Okay.
good?
All right. So it went so fast. And we are trusting the chair. We are trusting the chair and letting go and letting the chair support us. And letting go, like saying in your hands of all the things that got disturbed today, got disturbed in this conversation, things that are just up to clear. We're just letting go. The things that we don't have to hold on to. Good, and let's let go, like saying in your hands, or use a different tool to let go of other people's information and energy, just generally. So you can have your own experience. And let's let go of Jeff's energy, let it return to him, and we'll get our energy back from him. Let Nora's energy go back to her, and our energy come back from her. Let energy come back, go back to Chris, let go of her energy, and energy come back to you. So glad you're here, Chris. And any of my energy, I talked more. I have lots of ideas and energy. Let them come back to me. Whatever resonates with you, it's yours now. It has nothing to do with me. And just let my energy come back to me, and I'll let your energy come back to you. And let's let that sun above us, representing our source, fill us up with warm golden light, filling in all the space, all the change. Final words, my friends. Bye. Thanks so much for
Good night.
playing.
Thanks,
you,
everyone.
everybody.
Bye,
Be well.
everybody.
Good to
Bye-bye.
see y'all.